the pain like.
Hey guys, dearyoongi here, and welcome back to my channel. As some of you may know, I am active on Stan Twitter. This isn't a plug, I promise. If you're not already on there, I wouldn't exactly recommend that environment. But my point is, I see some crazy things on there, and most of the time I try my very best to just let them slide, because people on Twitter can be a whole nother breed sometimes. However, this recent topic I've been seeing fly around my timeline caught me so off guard that I felt compelled to make a video about it. The topic I'm referring to is social media's reaction to TXT Yeonjun's solo debut Ggum, or more so Twitter's reaction. So in today's video, I'll be filling you guys in on this situation, why people are suddenly turning on somebody they used to love, and what I think this teaches us, or maybe may even mean for Yeonjun's future. I know we're speaking as if this man suddenly has been embroiled in a scandal, which is literally nothing like what has happened, but bear with me guys, I'm hoping I can make this video go somewhere useful. So first of all, let's start by introducing Yeonjun and his solo Ggum. Choi Yeonjun, also known as Yeonjun, is a member of the boy group Tomorrow By Together, also known as TXT. Since TXT's debut in 2019, the group have only been going from strength to strength, experimenting with different concepts every era and growing a stable fan base. When the news came out that member Yeonjun would be debuting solo with a mixtape, everybody was super excited because it just made sense. While a lot of us know that all 5 of the TXT members would have no issue holding their own on a solo stage, sure, a lot of people completely understood why their label would want to start with Yeonjun, because he's often regarded as an all-rounder, which means an idol who can sing, dance, and rap. I remember over the years, a lot of newer fans actually thinking that Yeonjun was the group's leader, even though he isn't, just because of the strong presence and vibe that he has, qualities which would usually be associated with a K-pop group's leader, and definitely qualities that would work in your favor during solo promotions. However, things very quickly seemed to change when the music video dropped for the mixtape's pre-release single Ggum. The music video comes across as rebellious, with Yeonjun challenging the expectations placed upon him as an idol, and the lyrics of the song use chewing gum as a simile for Yeonjun to explain how he eats everything up basically, which I guess is how you'd describe somebody who just kills it no matter what. That's how I interpreted it anyway. And the lyrics of the song are only him expressing exactly what everybody always says about him and his endless abilities as an idol. So why is everybody mad? Let's move on to the fallout on Twitter. Yes, I'm gonna keep calling it Twitter throughout this whole video. Elon Musk, you can fight me. That's not a threat, don't come for me. Oh my god, how did this quickly develop into me getting sued? Anyways, just by looking at the comments on the song on the music video on YouTube, you would assume that their fans were happy about this release. The same goes for Reddit, where people may have been kind for the most part, even if slightly more critical of the song for not showing off Yeonjun's vocal abilities the best it could, because the song does feature a lot of like robotic voicing and voice editing and tuning techniques. Twitter, however, wow, you would think they are listening to an entirely different song by an entirely different artist that they've all hated for years, not a TXT member who everybody loved. Honestly, I don't know how or when things got as bad as they did, but I think we can pinpoint that time that things started to get out of hand to when Yeonjun started promoting the song on music shows. Clips started to surface on social media of Yeonjun showing the point part of the dance to the show's hosts, as every artist does during their music promotions. This point dance move in Yeonjun's case just so happens to be quite an intense hip thrusting move, and Twitter took this and ran with it. At the time of me speaking right now, this clip has 24.3 million views on Twitter and over 14,000 quotes, which is where people retweet but add their own thoughts, and these numbers are still climbing. Some of the quotes I have seen say things along the following lines: I think I'm going to get a digital STD. Confiscate the groin of every male idol. The dance, the song, the outfit, the concept, and then I'll add the picture they used to describe them. Ugly ass choreo. I'm sorry Yeonjun and fans. The second-hand embarrassment is strong. Seeing Yeonjun finally getting dragged by K-pop stans and K-nets is my joy, not gonna lie. It boy this, it boy that. He's just like a treasure member but red version. And I could go on all day because there's thousands of these types of tweets. But I think you guys get the picture. Don't even get me started on some of the tweets I've seen between some fandoms trying to start a fan war with each other over this one short clip. But why are people reacting like this to just a simple dance? There could be a few reasons, and none of them are really justifiable, but let's look at them anyway. Mob mentality. I'm starting with this one because it's definitely playing a major role in some of the behavior we've been seeing. The reason people have been so willing to say such awful things so comfortably is because so many people around them on Twitter are doing the same. There's such a mob mentality on Stan Twitter where people think just because one person said something really rude and hundreds of people like that tweet, then that's what everybody thinks, and it's completely fine for you to also say something horrible just because it might get a bit of engagement on your profile. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say that people aren't allowed to share their opinions on something. If you don't like the song or the styling or the choreography, of course you are within your right to do so as a consumer, but there is a very clear distinction between fairly critiquing somebody because you think the song isn't very good for them or the artist, and just full on hating someone for the way they look, or making claims that people should have been hating on him in this style the entire time, which was one of the wildest tweets I saw for me, because some of the tweets were just pure rage bait, aka people trying to say something deliberately hurtful to get people to interact with them. But this tweet just made absolutely no sense. It was a baseless claim that people should have been hating on Yeonjun the whole time, when there has never been any reason to do so. That one was particularly bad, but also the tweet dragging a Treasure member and his visuals into this just because they don't like that individual. This all started literally over people not liking a song and a dance move, remember? Another potential reason I think people have turned on Yeonjun in this way is because he's an easy target. Now hear me out on this one. As many of us know, TXT are one of the many groups under a label which is a subsidiary of a hype label. This therefore makes TXT a hype artist, which is one of a very common denominators we've been seeing across idols who get extremely major critiquing on social media. They're often hype artists, not always of course, but a lot of them nowadays have been. A recent example I can think of is LE SSERAFIM. For a while they seemed unstoppable, growing in popularity with each comeback, and starting to get global opportunities, one of these being the girls' Coachella appearance. This is when suddenly everybody turned on them, if you will, and people were questioning everything they ever did, questioning their ability as idols, heavily critiquing every track they released and their dances and their styling there on out. Things that yes were getting criticism before, but at least in the past it was more fair and never just a personal attack. These are just two examples where a larger group of people suddenly decided to hate a hype artist and that they weren't worth any of the earlier props they'd been receiving. But LE SSERAFIM and Yeonjun certainly won't be the first and last artists this happens to. I don't know what it is, but I feel like with hype artists, people are always looking for an opportunity to harshly critique them. It's almost as though people are holding them to such a high standard and are ready and waiting to turn on them, even though they never spoke poorly of them before, just at any moment. This is what I think could have happened to Yeonjun here as well, because he's an artist under hype whose solo debut may not have been what people were expecting. Bam, now it's time to question anything he has ever done as an artist. And thirdly, another potential reason I wanted to discuss of why people are reacting so negatively to Yeonjun on social media is due to the double standards in Korea. As we mentioned earlier, this dance move that has been circling as the point dance move in Yeonjun's choreography for Ggum is rather explicit, and sure, the hip thrusting dance move is very excessive and it caught me off guard too the first time I saw it, I won't lie. As many of us know, Korea is a rather conservative country with what it allows artists to do on music shows, and other artists have had their choreographies banned or altered in the past, even though they were much less over the top than this one. So yes, it's definitely a shock that the Korean music shows are allowing Yeonjun to perform this dance without any censoring. But the problem isn't just with allowing Yeonjun to do this dance. A lot of the time, artists who are getting their choreographies changed tend to be girl groups or female soloists. Not always, but a lot of the time. I mean, South Korean parents even had the police investigate Mamamoo's Hwasa for gesturing towards her crotch during a live performance at a university, which wasn't even on national television. This decision by the music shows to allow Yeonjun to do a choreography that is more extreme than others they've censored in the past does not bode well for them and sets quite a bad precedent, which only highlights the double standards between what is allowed of a female artist versus a male. And fans aren't happy about this, which is completely understandable. But what is much less understandable is people directing their anger towards Yeonjun as an individual. It is not his fault that music shows can be twisted and that Korea's society is misogynistic. People of course have a right to be upset that this is a very clear display of double standards, but then turning your anger towards Yeonjun rather than the people who are really to blame, the music networks, mistakes is not the right way to approach this topic or to make anybody take you seriously. Moving on, I want to address what I think this whole situation has taught us about Stan Twitter. I've been thinking about this a lot recently because it's so important, so I'm really excited to talk about it. I think people need to realize that every social media platform is a bubble. It may appear as though you are seeing thousands of tweets about something or people agreeing with a negative opinion on a website like Twitter, but in reality, this is only a very small portion of a much bigger world out there and a wider audience. While there may be thousands of people dragging Yeonjun on Twitter, there's also thousands of people who could be really enjoying the song on TikTok, thousands of people on Reddit who are just happy that Yeonjun got an opportunity to debut a solo mixtape. I've been trying to remind myself when it comes to choosing topics for videos on my channel that just because people would drag me for saying some of these things on Twitter, that doesn't mean people would in YouTube comments. I actually experienced this not too long ago with my most recent upload prior to this one, where I talked about ex-Day6 member Jay's situation and how he's kind of tainted his image over the years. I was midway through editing the video with my thoughts on how people have been treating him too harshly, and at the same time, my Twitter timeline was flooded with thousands of people talking about how much they dislike him and how they can never forgive him, dragging anybody who even tried to slightly defend him. And I'll be honest, it made me consider for a sec if it was worth me putting out that video if all I was going to get was just floods of people telling me that he's a bad person regardless of what he does to change. When the video was finally put up, I was so pleasantly surprised by the comments that video received, because it was quite the opposite on the most part. It was people agreeing and saying that Jay needs to be allowed the space to grow from his mistakes, and people agreeing that people on other platforms can be too harsh, or where people were disagreeing with each other, at least they were discussing it in a mature and unhurtful fashion, if that makes sense. Then just days later, I see thousands of people picking on TXT's Yeonjun as their new target of the week. I think a lot of social media platforms can bring out the worst in people due to that air of anonymity, making people feel as though they can do or say anything without fear of repercussion. But it seems to be worse on Stan Twitter, because this is perhaps where one of the bigger audiences of K-pop fans are, but not just the bigger audience, the most varied one. There are people on there in a variety of ages, from different locations, standing different groups, and I think a lot of people have very different ideas on what is and isn't a good way to express your thoughts, as opposed to other platforms where people may seem to be on more of the same page in how you should and shouldn't present yourself, if that makes sense. For today's video conclusion, I wanted to look at the effects this whole situation could have on Yeonjun, because that is a key factor people do seem to forget when they're trying to be funny on social media, the real person they're potentially hurting. With all this hate and backlash considered, what could this perhaps mean for Yeonjun's future? What does concern me more is the way that K-pop fans never seem to forget anything, and I just don't want this sudden hatred people have for him, even though he didn't really do anything wrong, to carry across into his future works, because that is a genuinely concerning thing that K-pop fans could do. After LE SSERAFIM's Coachella incident, fans were a lot harsher on their future comebacks, hating songs they probably would have liked or turned a blind eye to if they didn't like years prior, because now they feel like it's okay to express their dislike for them. It does worry me that K-pop fans will just immediately claim they hate any of Yeonjun's future solo work or the mixtape just because they didn't like one dance move last time. Or worse, what's stopping K-pop fans suddenly claiming that Yeonjun's the reason for TXT's downfall if their next release is them going downhill or falling off? It sounds like a completely crazy thing to even think about, but we all know full well this is exactly the sort of things K-pop fans would do. Fans have praised TXT in the past for being experimental with their sound and image, but it would be just typical of K-pop fans to suddenly say that something they viewed so positively in the past is now more negative, and the group experimenting is them just not knowing their sound and trying too hard to push the envelope. Things that they never said before. I am really hoping for Yeonjun's sake that he hasn't seen a lot of what's been going on across social media, because while a lot of artists may be prepared to get critiqued when they put their content out there, a lot of the comments have been going far beyond this and have just been downright hurtful. Yeonjun will have put a lot of work into this mixtape, and if it's not your style then that's fine, but a lot of people will be judging him and his solo work off one dance move they saw people talking about, rather than giving him the chance to express his colours and capabilities as an artist. And I really hope more than anything that everybody who watches this video at least understands the repercussions of disguising hate behind an opinion, because these are two very different things. I'm not expecting everybody to lie and say they like the song just to make sure Yeonjun doesn't feel bad, but I'm expecting people to be able to express their opinions in why they dislike a song in a better way than just, I think he looks ugly. This is why I kind of wanted to come onto YouTube to talk about this topic rather than like like a big long thread on Twitter, because people seem to be able to think much more rationally over here, so thank you. I'm not expecting people to ever change on Twitter either, but if we can at least remind ourselves that there's a bigger world out there full of people with thousands of opinions, this will hopefully help us get less riled up by crazy people we see on Twitter. Don't let those sorts of comments anger you or get a rise out of you, because that's exactly what those people want. I know that's super ironic coming from the girl who just made a 15-minute plus video about these people, but I'm using this as a teachable opportunity. That's my excuse. Okay guys, and that was it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching if you got this far. This was a bit of a random one for me to go off on a rant about, but I hope you guys enjoyed it anyway. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and let me know your thoughts in the comments, either on the song, the hate it's been getting, or this video. I'm all ears regardless. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to be the first to hear whenever I upload, and I will see you next time. Bye guys!